It is Monday on Daily Delivery. Patrick Reusse joins me as usual. I'm Michael Rand. Patrick down in Florida, covering Twins spring training. Lots of stuff going on down there. I want to get into a bunch of that right off the jump. Patrick, we'll probably get into some Wild, some Gophers stuff. Maybe Caitlin Clark will be in town in just a couple days. We should maybe talk about that. She's coming twice in like 2 weeks. She can't get enough of Minneapolis. We're gonna have a lot of Caitlin mania. But
those Iowegians are going to be spending some money, man. They're not going to like that, but anything for Caitlin. So
yes.
Yeah.
If
you got a hotel with free breakfast, look out. You're going to be in trouble. Those Iowegians, there won't be a donut to find within 5 miles of its free breakfast hotel. So that's for sure.
I'm not an Iowegian, but I've been known to enjoy a good hotel free breakfast as well. The Twins seem like they might enjoy a free breakfast too, because they can't afford more players. Patrick, sounds like the Joe Pohlad interview the other day on WCCO. It's been several days now, but we've all had a chance to think about it, write about it. We've written plenty about it. You wrote about it the other day. I liked your take on it. To me, the weird thing about this, Patrick, is there's no need to say that, right? Like, as much as you might say, hey, this guy's just being honest, there's no real need to come out and say, nope, we're not going to try to go out and get one more really good player to add to a playoff team last year. Our payroll is what it is, and we can just kind of stop dreaming about all that right now.
Yes, and then comparing, maybe we're going to have to operate more like the Tampa Bay Rays. Okay, good, thank you. Actually, Tampa Bay's not that far behind him in payroll right now, but that was ridiculous to say. He's inexperienced. He's 41. He's been around. He's helped a couple radio stations fail, but he's they're trying to do the new generation thing, and they were better off when Jim Pohlad said nothing except what was his
total system failure.
Total system failure, but that was okay. But he was right then. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they obviously, I think their target was like 125 million. They're at 114, so they actually got some. They got some money if they want to. If somebody thinks, I think they're probably going to bring in Michael Taylor or somebody. What they have to do though is bring in they're not going to bring in a high price starting pitcher, and we all know that. But I didn't hear that. I didn't really listen to the interview. I just saw the reaction. So maybe DeRusha did a good job of pushing him into a corner and making him try to fight his way out of it. But it's the fact of the matter is I like their lineup. You look at their lineup that they started on opening day last year, and compared to now, I like their lineup a lot better. But as I said, the big key last year was they were 28th in innings pitched by starters in 2022 and 4th last year. So, you're going to miss Sonny in that sense. I wouldn't have given Sonny 3 years, 75 either, but there's pitchers out there looking for jobs. I wouldn't break the bank for Jordan Montgomery either, because he turned down a big deal, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to move Kepler or somebody and get a good mid-level anyway starting pitcher. But I really don't know if that's happening or not. They do have a lot of left-handed hitting outfielders, and they ended up moving Polanco, but it gave I don't know, I can't figure out the fan base either. I mean, I don't know who's the people that showed up last year for the playoff there at the end. There was kind of a younger crowd that was just there having fun. They're not the type of people that are going to dwell on they're not signing a starting pitcher, so I'm not going to any more games.
Right.
It's hard to see, if you look at the Star Tribune comments, it's the same guys that have been ripping the Pohlads for years because they got a free stadium and they haven't been to a game yet. So, it's the crowd we hear from is the crowd that doesn't go to games anyway, in a large part. But, if you're the middle level fan who takes an interest in it, you're a little upset that they would not at least be looking around, seeing if they could find another nice $10 million pitcher to put in this rotation, because this DeSclafani, or however you pronounce his name, I did hear. DeSclafani, I did hear from the editor the other day that I spelled it twice in a column and I was wrong both times. So I'm hoping he doesn't make the team, but I think he's here. So
yeah.
It's kind of like spelling Niederreiter. But
the name I finally figured out once he got traded.
Yes. But you're right. You hit the bottom line. There was no reason to say it.
No.
You're an executive of a sports team. You're supposed to be a BSer. Never tell the public the truth. Okay, that's the way it's supposed to be. I mean,
at least not until you have to.
No, Jim Pohlad was a terrible BSer, but he succeeded by not saying anything, as I said, right. And plus you got, you got Falvey and guys that are a lot better at it than you to talk around this thing.
Yes.
So it was not necessary. That's for sure. And the problem is, and I'm not, 90% of the fan base probably doesn't care, but the fact that we're getting so much fodder out of it in the media that's bad for the team for sure. What
bothers me in particular too is that the cover for a lot of the off-season, payroll reduction has been, not entirely, but they've been saying, hey, we don't know how much TV money we're going to have, the whole TV deal, the uncertainty of it during the off-season, and that carried into January, late January, February. But we don't know still how much they're getting from this new Bally contract. They took their best financial deal, certainly. If they would have gotten more or at least close to as much money from MLB to go that route, I think they would have done that. So they would have been on all the platforms and things like that. So we don't know exactly how much they're getting from that. If they told us that and said, hey, yeah, actually we took a $25 million reduction on that, this is why we got to cut payroll, I just don't get the sense it's that much of a haircut, because a lot of these other teams are getting paid pretty much the same, it seems like. So that's what bothers me. We don't know what the TV money is, and that bothers me.
But I don't think it's about 2024 either.
You're right. That's true.
If you want to bring in a good, solid guy who's out there on the market, you got to give him a 3-year deal.
That's
fair. And they don't have any idea what it's going to be. They know one thing: if MLB.com takes it over, or not .com, just MLB takes it over, like they have Arizona and
San Diego, I think.
San Diego. That they're going to be taking a whole lot less money probably to start with, and hopefully what they got to do is get the streamers to pay something. Right. The under 40 streaming crowd wants everything for free, so
yes,
it's going to be that's the uncertainty here. If they can get a $15 million pitcher who's good for 1 year, they'd probably take him.
Yeah, good point.
But I haven't. They got to be up to something. I mean, here's the thing: it's still February.
Yeah,
they're going to be here for another 4 weeks, and they'll, they're talking to people every day, trying to, they are, I'm sure, trying to get another pitcher, but for now they don't have anybody who can get a 1-year deal. And, that if they could do that, I think they'd probably do it. That said, the other thing about baseball is this could be, you started last year. We hated this team for 4 months.
Yes.
Because they struck out all the time, and they were under. They'd have a week where they'd score 4 runs, and they didn't care that Joey Gallo, they were given at bat. They ended up giving 400 at bats to Joey Gallo, who struck out 45% of the time, and a lot of things like that. And then the last couple of months, the vibe got good, and then they finally won some playoff games. But things were negative last year for much of the year, and I mean, baseball seasons to me always have first of all, they're endless, right?
Yes.
They go on, and then things can change. I always go back to 84 when we were going to move out of town, and we had the buyout. I had Harvey's great buyout, going up there and getting tickets. And, in the middle of June, they were buried. And then he ended up, the West Division was horrible, as bad as the Central is now. But in August and September, in August, they were 5.5 games in front or something like that. So baseball seasons are weird, and they stand alone. I mean, this could be one of those disasters. And because they get a bunch of guys hurt, and all the plans go, or it could be it's really hard to. The Yankees are generally going to be good. The Dodgers are going to be great. There's about 6 teams, for sure, and then there's 5, 6, 8, are going to be terrible, and then everybody else, it's how things go. It's 162. I mean, sometimes you get I left here. What year? Perk was in the same place I used to be, and we were talking, and Perk couldn't have been more excited about the team. He thought it was great, and that was they'd finally gotten out of the hole, and that was, I believe,
was it like 15 to 16?
2015 team.
15 was the good year.
Winning.
15 was the decent year, and then 16 was the failure year.
And 16 when they were horrible.
Yeah.
And then there's another one I go back to, Mike, is 2011 being down.
Yeah.
And everybody I ran into at the ballpark, and they were really drawn well in spring training back then. The stadium was always full. Hey, Reusse, can we beat the Yankees this year? And that team ended up losing 50 of their last 69 games.
Yeah.
And celebrating on the last day of the season because they didn't lose 100.
Yes, I remember that.
So, we all know what's going to happen until it doesn't. That's why we follow sports, right?
That's a good point. Those are all good points. I mean, I feel like the reasons for optimism this year are genuine. You talked about the vibe changing last year. I mean, the vibe changing last year was one guy. It was Royce Lewis, right? It was he changed. I've never seen. I shouldn't say never, but rarely with the Twins have I seen one person change a vibe like that. He changed it. You combine, presumed health at some point for him, although he's got to show it. You combine that with Buxton, seems like he feels as good as he's felt in years. Correa sounds like he's healthier. There are legitimate reasons that they should be excited about the lineup. It's the pitching is the scary part. The pitching is definitely the scary part.
Yeah, it is. And every time Johan Duran throws a 104-mile-an-hour pitch, Phil, our buddy Phil Miller went on he appeared at the Twins Daily function.
That's right.
That they have the Twins Daily function this year. Suggested they should trade Duran because to get when he's got maximum value, and they almost hauled him off the stage and beat him up. I hear from Bonus and those guys who were telling me the crowd went crazy, and Phil was happy because it's the first time he ever got booed in his life. But anyway, it was So I mean, it's
injuries.
Last year they had good
injuries. Yeah.
Pitching wise, last year they had really good health. Forget Tyler Malley. They had really good health. And can it happen again this year? I mean, that's just, that's just the great unknown is we know one thing. They aren't going to get as many innings out of their starters as they did last year.
I wouldn't.
895 last year, which is compared to, 107 or 8 more innings out of their starters than they had the year before. So, and that's the other thing is, Rocco, he takes his pitchers out early. They were Chris Archer and Dylan Bundy. That's why he took them out early. He doesn't take Pablo Lopez and Sonny Gray out early. Okay?
No, if you're pitching well, you can stay in. If you're not Bundy and Archer, you can stay in. I mean, it's a mystery. Let's, if you want to be mad about the payroll and the fact that
I mean, they got money now, even at their cheap level. If they're sitting at 114 right now,
Yeah, they'll spend a little bit more.
I mean, they got 10 or 12 to spend anyway.
Yeah,
they lost a ton in 2020, but they came back and spent money after that. So I don't really know why all of a sudden they're having this come to Jesus thing, because the Twins stand alone as a business in the Pohlad empire, and they're supposed to pay for themselves. But I don't know why they suddenly have decided that they got to crack down. I don't know what's going on.
yeah. Well, maybe a couple more baseball things aside from the payroll, and then we'll move on to a few other subjects. But is Louie Varland going to make the club this year? I saw Bobby's early projections didn't have him on the roster.
I think it depends upon the Sclafani. If is he going to make it to opening day? Is he going to make it through spring training with his history of injuries? If not, he'll go to St. Paul. But I guarantee you, the first 2 months he's over there, they'll use all 5 of those options they're able to use to slip him over there and have him pitch a day to give some of their other arms another day off, and he'll be back and forth. But I would not do it that way. I would give him a chance. If he's one of their 5 best starters down here, I'd keep him. But they're gonna. Yeah, I just thought the reason they took this DeSclafani was because Seattle made him to offset the money with Polanco more than anything. I mean, to build this guy up as though he's some veteran. The last 2 years he hadn't pitched. He had a good year 3 years ago, but he hasn't pitched. He's pitched, he's been hurt both times. So I don't know. I'm not betting on it right now, though. I think Bobby's pretty accurate. He did have Austin Martin making the team on his thing, and I'd like to see that, but I wouldn't bet on it. I really think, though, if Buxton can't make it through spring training, and Michael Taylor's still floating around, go get him. But if Buxton's playing center field when the season starts, there's no reason to bring Michael Taylor back.
No,
I just should have Austin Martin because he can play all over the field, and he's 25 now. Come on,
let's see.
Louie's 25 too, isn't he? I think Louie's 25 too. What are we waiting for? This is stop babying these guys at age 25 like they're some. They need a little more experience. No, they don't. If they're 25 years old, they can either cut it or they can't.
By the time these poor guys reach free agency, they're in their early 30s now.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, they got. I didn't even know about the rule change that Bill wrote about the other day too. The blocking the base thing on base runners on steals. Rocco was talking about it, and he said, "I don't think it's supposed to be egregious for him to call it."
Yeah,
and he said, "I said, Rocco, you got about 12 egomaniacs who won't." They start that game wanting to be the first guy to make that call.
Yeah,
they'll be making that call every time they get a chance. The new generation of Joe West will be trying to screw up the game by, hey, I made that call and I was right. And this thing isn't reviewable. How many guys they said that sliding in the base, you drop your knee and tag him out. He says it causes a lot of injuries. Okay, right. 1,
yeah,
2,
I don't remember. Yeah,
they've gone overboard too, and I mean, we all love the pitch clock, and but most times baseball does something, they get it wrong. Let's remember that. So that's going to be a big controversy the first month. Somebody's going to lose the game because some idiot's going to call this and they can't review it. So let me just say that.
They're going to call it way more. They'll call it way more early on too. It'll be the kind of thing where they call it a bunch of times. It'll be a point of emphasis, then they'll stop calling it, and people will forget about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, it's the umpires want to be, heroes and have you. they feel lonely now. There's nothing to argue about. Everything's reviewable and stuff. This will give them a chance to be jackasses. They love that. So
just wait till they go to electronic balls and strikes. They'll have nothing left. They'll have nothing.
Dana Kicker was at the game yesterday. He was talking to me. He says, "That's when I'm done. When they go to electronic balls and strikes," he said, I'm done watching." So
yeah. Well,
anyway.
Grand Casino would like to take a moment and salute the true football fan. The passion, the hope, the anticipation, that incomparable feeling of winning. Grand Casino would also like to take a moment to remind you that you can find all that anticipation, thrill, and winning at Grand Casino. Grand Casino, let your story begin.
Let's talk Gophers a little bit here. Had an opportunity yesterday in Nebraska to make their NCAA tournament case stronger. At least I still don't know where they are with that because of their non-conference was so bad, and they just don't have enough opportunities. They'd have to be pretty good down the stretch and make a little Big Ten tournament run, but lose by 18 at Nebraska. They couldn't make a shot. They were 6 of 23 from 3-point range, and they had been shooting the ball really well as they kind of got back into this, got over 500 in the conference, but not an entirely surprising result, I wouldn't say, based on.
No, Nebraska's good finally. It took Freddie Hoiberg a long time, and they're really good defensively, and they're kind of a hard-nosed team. And the Gophers, as I said, I didn't see much of it, but looking at the play-by-play, they were in it until the final 27 and a half minutes. So it was not exactly a thriller. And I saw that coming. Who they going to, they got to beat like Penn State on the road or somebody like that, right? Don't they still have Penn State on the road?
I think now they've got Penn State at home. The two home games are pretty winnable. It's like Penn State and Indiana, but they've got like Illinois and somebody else on the road. Two potential resume builders on the road, and the two home games they should win or need to win.
I don't know. I don't think they're in. I don't think they're going to get in. I mean they're okay, but it's hard to make a case for them they end up tied for 6th in the Big Ten.
Right.
They would have to, and then stop telling me that they've won all the, won 18 games or something like. Who cares? They didn't play anybody, and in their non-conference schedule. So, those games don't really get. They're a team with its win total doesn't mean anything, right? Win total. I mean, because it's what you do in a conference. They get to 11-9, and then win 2 games in the tournament. Then they'll be in. But they got. They're still like 73rd or 74th.
That's where they were going into the Nebraska game,
so they'll be down in the high 70s now, probably. So
what's going to hurt them in the end, Patrick, is that loss to Missouri. Missouri has not won an SEC game this year. Have you seen that?
I saw that. Yeah,
they're like 0-13, 0-14 in the SEC this year,
and they were good. Didn't they give their coach Didn't they? Weren't they pretty good last year?
I can't remember.
Coach a new contract or something. It was. I thought they were kind of a surprisingly good team last year. Listen, college basketball is when we said that when Nebraska and Northwestern are 2 of the 4 best teams in the Big Ten, and when Louisville has got one of the worst programs in America, and Notre Dame's terrible, and they went in and beat Louisville by 25. And it's screwed up right now, and it's going to get a lot more screwed up if the court ruling in Virginia and the other places, you could just call them up and make them an offer. You can send them a printed
NIL
contract.
Stuff. Yeah, that was huge.
Oh, it is. You can say, here's the deal. It's not. I'm going to miss good old fashioned country basketball cheating.
Right now, that's all of it.
Because back when the in the 70s and 80s, when the Big Ten was filled with all these coaches, these legendary coaches, and everybody was Dutch once in a while would get loosened up and off the record and talk about the the days at Michigan when he was with Johnny Orr,
sure.
and there was about 6 other hardcore cheaters in the league, and they were trying to protect their Michigan turf. And one of their things was Walker, the Campanella Russell's parents. I can't remember what her name was, but every time one of her sons was getting recruited, she wanted new carpet. She didn't want the cheap stuff either. She wanted somebody. I don't know if somebody brought carpet samples, and they get this junk out of here. We don't want that stuff.
Oh my gosh!
Back in the day when you looked like the famous John Rowe story when Johnny Orr is screaming at him because a Musselman brought Harvey McKay in, and they were trying to, because boosters should recruit them. Now they can again. And they basically made their offer to very vivid to Campanella. And Johnny, next time Johnny sees John Rowe, he's screaming at him. He's saying, you guys coming in and trying to steal my players. And John said to him, hey, Johnny, where'd he end up? And he says, that's beside the point. He ended up at Michigan, so they took care of him. But now it's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, the good thing about it, though, is nobody can any longer to say, you stop ripping these kids. They're college athletes.
Right.
They're amateur athletes.
Right.
Now we can rip them just like they're the pros, man. We can go after them and say, this kid failed us. He didn't show up, the bum, just like we do with the pros now. And big-time colleges. How are you going to keep guys, though? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be harder and harder for like the mid-level programs, I feel like. Maybe I'm wrong. It just feels like the programs like Minnesota are the ones that are going to suffer particularly, because the ones that were at the bottom are going to stay at the bottom. The ones that are at the top are the ones that have the built-up kind of money connections that people care that much about, that they'll pay these guys what they want and get those guys in.
But like UCLA apparently isn't terrible.
Yes.
Let out UCLA.
Yeah.
It's got terrible NIL money.
I know. That blew my mind when I saw that. That blew my mind.
USC's got money. USC's private, and maybe that's a lot of maybe apparently USC graduates are a lot more proud of their university than UCLA graduates. I don't know, but it's plus. What's it going to do to the other sports? What's it going to do to the other sports? Because if you're tapping this guy for $100,000 a year, he's not going to give it to the general fund. Then he's going to give it to a basketball player, and that so. All the other sports, all of a sudden, are, but going to be funded even less than they are now. It's incredible.
When are they going to make writing term papers legal? Because that was,
yeah.
Why not? Let's go all the way.
Most overrated scandal in the history of sports.
About that. That was 25. That was 25 years ago this year that broke.
Yeah, and I think George Dorman won a Pulitzer, didn't he, or something, for investigative journalism for Jan Gangelhoff giving her menstrual cycle paper to 20 basketball players.
Yeah.
Who cared? But back to, now you don't care. Now they have 6 tutors hand carrying everybody through. If you flunk out now, it's just because you decided never to show up on campus. That's the only way you can flunk out. We haven't seen him in 2 months. We got to give him some bad grades here. So when's the last athlete that flunked out? Of course, if they do flunk out now, then nobody will say they're flunked out because we're afraid we'll get sued or something. But it's impossible to flunk out, too, because all the tutors they have and everything. I remember going over to see Coach Brew. Coach Brew proudly telling me, that was one of the few talks we had, that he had hired, they were hiring 3 guys to help non-qualifiers with educational problems. I can't remember what the term was. But basically, they're going to get them declared diminished in some way. I don't know what. And then they can hand carry them through school to. And I said, I'm proud of that as a University of Minnesota dropout. But anyway,
dropout.
I mean, college sports are just. Colleges in general are in trouble because men aren't going to school anymore.
That's true. That is true.
Thing. So it's a really weird situation, to say the least.
Royal Credit Union's Smart Checking accounts offer no monthly fees and no minimum balance. Enjoy financial freedom when you open your Royal Credit Union Smart Checking account online at rcu.org/go-checking. Insured by NCUA.
Let's finish up talking about Caitlin Clark. She's coming here on Wednesday. That game is already sold out at Williams Arena. She'll be back with Iowa another couple weeks after that for the Big Ten women's basketball tournament.
What a phenomenon. You know what's the most amazing thing yet?
What?
They have sold out the Big Ten women's basketball tournament, even for the 2 rounds that there's no chance she's going to play, just in case she would have slipped. And to guarantee yourself a seat for the quarters, semis, and finals, you had to buy the whole package, right? Yeah. So they've sold the whole thing out. It's incredible. It's because last year when she was here and she was starting to get a lot of attention, and we called it the most successful Big Ten women's tournament ever. That's because every time Iowa played, there was 9,000 people, and every time everybody else played, there was 600. But now they're gonna, there's gonna be games played there when there's 1,000 people in the stands, and they're gonna tell us there was 15,000. But I don't know what the capacity is, but they sold out the tournament.
Yeah,
and the men's tournament isn't close to being sold out.
No, it's her. It's her. I mean, if you're looking for a reason, it's her.
Yeah, 100%. I was talking to, who was I talking a couple of days ago? I mean, I never thought I could live long enough that the number one basketball personality in college basketball was a woman. She's way bigger than anybody the men have going for.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, am I going to go see her or the big lug from Purdue, make his 3-footers? I mean, he's going to be the men's college player of the year for 2 straight years.
Zach Edey,
Nobody cares.
Right.
It's a phenomenon. It's amazing. I was talking to somebody who's kind of got a little knowledge. They think she's going to the WNBA because if she comes back, and then if she comes back for another year and all the records she's setting, then people will start saying, she played another year, blah, blah, blah. But it's maybe, but she's probably making more money. I don't know how many of her NIL deals how many of those sponsors would leave her if she didn't play college, if she went to the WNBA, because there's a lot more money for her on the table now than in the college than she would be getting in the WNBA. That's for sure.
She had 24 points the other day. She had a triple-double, but that leaves her 51 behind Pete Maravich going into this Gopher game. So I don't think she's going to. Shouldn't say she won't. I don't think she's going to get it. But
how much of that sold-out crowd? Because it was sold out in December, I think.
The Gopher game, it was sold out quick. Yeah.
How much of it's going to be yellow and black?
Probably quite 8, a bit of it. It's going to be like those old days at the Dome where it was all yellow and black or red for the Wisconsin games.
Yellow and black. They tore down the goalposts there. That was a bad thing in the Metrodome when the opposing fans tore down the goalposts.
Was that the 55-0 game that they did that at, or was that a different game?
I think it might have been. That was that Brew was 7-1 that year.
Yes, that was the end.
I was showing up at events and people were almost throwing stuff at me, screaming at me. I remember I went to a football game in Delano or Dassel Cokato or something. There's a big Gopher booster out there. And blah, they were all screaming at me. And then he lost his last 5. And do you know that I think that 55-0 was like the most lopsided loss in Big Ten history for anybody at that point it happened. Not just the Gophers. Now, I might be wrong, but I remember it was some historic score in the same year. He was 7-1. He gets beat 55-0.
55-0.
How'd that happen? He was a very rational guy. And then he decided he was going to change his offense before that bowl game. Remember, he got rid of the run and shoot.
I could have forgot about that.
It was going to be a power. Iowa had the big running back, and they came in here and ran it down his throat. So then we were going to become a power team in the 4 weeks before the mediocre bowl game. So he was a beauty, to say the least.
Yeah, beauty to say the least. Well, yeah, maybe we'll probably end with it. We'll end on Brewster. It's a sour note to end on. We won't get into the Wild. We'll have plenty of time to talk about the Wild.
Hey, how about the Wild, man?
I'm interested. I'm a little more interested. I'm a little bit more interested now.
They're going out. They were going on that 3-game road trip. They lose the first one. They come back and beat Edmonton. It was good.
Yes.
And then they beat the Crackheads 5-2 with that. And their top line is going nuts.
Right.
So they're going to make the playoffs again.
I don't think so. There's too many. There's like 5 teams battling for one spot. I don't think they're going to get.
St. Louis is terrible. They're better. They got a little momentum here.
They do. I still don't think they're going to get in, but they're better. When they get good goaltending, they're good. Well,
you've always been a pessimist, unlike me. So you've always been a pessimist. You've been kind of that kind of guy. So.
I am that kind of guy. Well,
all right.
Have a good day at the ballpark, Patrick. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. Goodbye.